Alrighty, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to some more coffee talk. Today, I am joined by Storm and Seph. If you guys want to go ahead and introduce yourselves, yeah. Yep. And I am your host, Golden Drummer 730, but you can just call me Golden and Goldie. And so here at Coffee Talk, we basically are here. Oh, whoops. I forgot to unmute you guys. Can you go ahead and introduce yourselves again?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I
Sorry, I was
suck.
muted.
Yep.
It's fine. That's fine. So I'm Storm Kasi on Twitch. Real name, real name, Rochelle. I also go by Chelle. I've streamed here in Cerulean Skies a little bit. And yeah, and then I'll just leave it at that for now.
And again, I'm Seph, just new to all this, and yeah, I'm not going to go into my long-winded intro that I had just before. Hello, everyone.
Yep, definitely feel bad for that one. But wouldn't it not be a Cerulean Skies stream if there wasn't some tipsy-turvy goofy thing that doesn't happen. So as always, welcome back to some coffee talk. The name of the game here is that we're just gonna keep it nice and chill for the next hour and a half. There's gonna be the VN coffee talk going on the background, and we're just gonna have a nice casual chat and just see where things go. I think pretty much is going to be a tradition now to ask this as a first question, which is, what is your favorite caffeinated beverage? It can be coffee, it can be tea, it can be anything. Maybe it's decaf. Maybe you're not even a big fan of coffee. So, Storm, what you got for us?
I'm not a fan of coffee, but I really like Cherry Coke Zero. And also Baja Blast, which we talked about in Discord a bunch.
Yeah, that was a whole conversation with Baja Blast. Baja Blast is, I feel like I've only really drank it whenever I've gone to Taco Bell. I know you can't really get it, but they had it for a while where you could get it for a limited time and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not bad. It's actually good. It's good.
Yeah, so I would say one of those, either Cherry Coke Zero or Baja Blast.
Interesting. What about you, Seph?
I was just checking that audio. Audio is good, by the way. Yeah, I've never had Baja Blast, but I don't know if we get it in Australia. I know we got Taco Bell, but I think I've been there once ever. But coffee. The obvious answer. I love coffee. I like caramel lattes, and that's my go-to. Found a Coffee Smith near my workplace that's been there for like 2 years, and I only went down a couple of weeks ago and found out they do spice pumpkin or pumpkin spice.
Ooh.
And so I've been kind of on an American flavor kick. Like we've got gingerbread flavored coffees, marshmallow, toffee nut. So I've been going here like every day. I think I spent $120 on coffee the other week. Just there alone. So
I mean, so long as it's good, right? Like if it's good quality stuff, then it's worth it, I'd say.
I think it's become apparent that I'm a bit of a coffee fiend, and I like to justify my consumption of coffee, the fact that I'm so tall and big that I need that amount of caffeine to sustain me, and that caffeine has actually replaced my blood, and so I'm like a coffee vampire now.
Do you crash then after a few cups or something, or do you just ride it?
Dude, you know me. Everyone knows I don't sleep.
Yahiko and Joey just never seem to sleep, and I don't understand how you can just keep on going that way.
I get, it's like I said, man, I work hard throughout the weekday. I work hard 5 days a week, and then on the weekend, I catch up on all the sleep. I have one like big 10-hour nap, and then I'm good for the weekend, and I just chill out and do my own thing. But all that coffee catches up with me.
So Storm, what keeps
Yeah,
you awake then?
Wait, what keeps me awake?
Yeah, like you're definitely on the. It's interesting. We have three spectrums here. We have Storm, who does not do coffee, or like cherry coke. They're all like cherry coke zero and stuff like. So I guess you got the soda caffeine. I'm in the middle with coffee and tea. It doesn't really matter to me, although I prefer tea. And then you got Seph over here, who's just like, I'm gonna drink 4 or 5 cups of coffee a day and stuff like that.
Oh, I mean, I drink too much, like Coke Zero.
Oh no.
Same. Same.
I probably have like 2 cans a day usually. I mean, I'm trying to have more water, but was your O like you drink way more than that?
I drink like so we have this thing called, I don't know if you guys have it where you are, but we have a thing called Coke, no sugar, no caffeine.
Oh.
And I just call it Coke. Yeah, I call it Coke, no Coke. And we introduced it into our household because we were drinking Coke Zero, which I became addicted to. But we found that my daughter has an astigma, so she gets a twitchy eye when she's had too much caffeine.
Oh.
And even though we'd only give her 1 glass of Coke Zero for dinner, it would trigger it. So we had to find an alternative because I didn't want her missing out. And yeah, we found out that Coke no sugar, Coke no Coke. And so I drank like about, when I put it into perspective, it wouldn't even be a can. No, yeah, that's about right. Yeah, it's about 2 cans.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, I'm trying to like drink more water lately, but
It is hard.
Yeah.
I drink like 6 liters of water a day.
Oh wow.
Probably more, sorry.
I got these I don't know if you would have had them out there, but like there's like these giant red cups that are from like usually like pizza places, and I bought a bunch of them from like a restaurant supply place just to like have gigantic water cups. That's what I've been like. I have one in front of me right now, but that's what I'm like doing to try and just keep drinking water.
Like those classical red cups from like 90s Pizza Huts and stuff like that?
Yep, and they say Coca Cola on them and everything.
Whoa.
Yeah, you can just go to like a restaurant supply and get like a ton of them.
Interesting. That's pretty great.
All right. When it comes to water, I have to drink a lot. Otherwise, I dehydrate in milliseconds living in Australia.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's sort of the same for me in California, but I've been dehydrated a ton of times, but I haven't like learned from it, I guess.
It's tricky because like water itself is good, but like once you really get into like the taste of something, it's very difficult to walk away from that. Like if you really enjoy just the taste of cola, or you really enjoy the taste of like Baja Blast, just for example, like you're gonna wanna keep drinking that whenever you can.
Yeah.
The nice
thing. It's kind of like people, like you were mentioning, you only get it if you go to Taco Bell, but it sort of becomes a thing that like if you ever get Taco Bell, it's like, well, you gotta get Baja Blast, because
yeah, exactly.
So it's sort of like
consumer mentality,
right? Like the Coke Zero thing is kind of like sometimes if I'm eating something specific, it's like, oh, like cola would be really good with this.
So Coke Zero recently, they changed their formula, they say, to include like a new taste and stuff like that. Has anybody can anybody speak on that? If they've noticed a difference, or they
yeah, to me it's actually a lot better.
Really? I've heard mostly the opposite, that a lot of people don't like the new flavor.
Oh, I didn't really drink it before, and then when they changed the flavor, I've been like addicted to it.
Has this been for like the last 12 months? So the new flavor, as far as I'm aware, it might be different for you guys.
Yeah.
I think it's been like 2 years almost now.
It was during the pandemic they did it, yeah.
Yeah.
I was
They don't
okay
take
with
good
it.
things from everyone.
Oh, sorry, Seph, go for it.
Oh no, I was just saying. I was just being sarcastic, saying pandemic taking all the good things away from everyone. Because I actually
Legit.
prefer the latter.
Oh,
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I was okay with it. I didn't really prefer it before, but I also don't really. I mean, I think it's a little bit better now. I still probably, if I'm gonna go buy like cola for the house, I'm probably gonna go for Coke Zero. Even though that's probably just equally as bad for me. Like, is like there's no calories in, or it's like there's no like sugar and calories in it, but like I'm sure like the other syrups and chemicals are just also eating away at my insides and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's better, but not the best.
it's mostly if you have too much of it. As far as I'm aware, it's bad for your like sodium
Yeah.
because it does have a lot of sodium in it.
Yeah.
Thing. This is a complete tinfoil moment, but I think it's the ingredient that you find in bubblegum or some shit. And phenylenedione or whatever, however you pronounce it. And
Yeah.
much of that can be counterproductive. But then again, that's like anything you eat. If you have too much, and like you said, Storm, if you have too much, then it's going to be bad for you.
Yeah.
Consumption is key, or what is it? Control is key.
Yeah, everything in moderation. That reminds me of like, the early 2000s when there was like the whole soy thing. Like, yo, you gotta get in on this soy thing. Like, we got soy milk, soybean oil, like soy this, soy that. Then like I think it was like somewhere between 2008 and 2012, they're like, oh no, don't do soy, it's like really bad for you. You gotta get in on the coconut stuff, and coconut's still going, but like you gotta get on the coconut oils and the coconut milks and stuff like that. And then you see people posting articles like, yeah, every morning I just gobble like a whole spoonful of like coconut oil or something like that. I put it in my hair, I put it on my skin and everything.
Yeah. I mean, even that
Every
idea
orifice.
is kind of why they changed the Coke Zero flavor, because, you know, low sugar or no sugar, like a lot, especially like sugar substitutes, have become so popular in the past few years that like a lot of companies have to have sugar substitute or no sugar products to keep up with it.
Why do
So
you
I think
that?
before it was just kind of like, oh, here's our no sugar one, but we don't, like, it's not our most selling thing or whatever, but now they sort of have to pay attention to it.
Especially recently. I don't know, I mean, even before the pandemic, like within the last, like, I would say like 10 years, 2012, more and more of the diet craze and everything has just become more and more public with social media. So it's like, yeah, we kind of have to do the whole diet thing correctly now.
This is everyone's fitness junkies these days. Everyone, it's not just become a way of life; it's become a fad. So, you know, whenever you go to a house, that like even we do it as well. We're just like whenever we have guests and stuff like that, we always mention that we have sugar-free alternatives with everything that we have, gluten-free and whatnot, just out of consideration more than anything. And I think just the world as a whole has kind of gone that direction where a lot of people are more concerned about their diets or whatever it is, and so they don't want to be throwing down spoonfuls of sugar. Like, you know, you always see those crazy things where you got the bags and how much sugar's in an energy drink and how much sugar's in a standard like can of Coke or something like that. When you get older, when you get into your 30s like myself, you're mindful of that stuff. And then because when you're a kid and you don't really have parents explaining like the serious issues you will encounter as an adult if you eat a crap ton of sugar, like when you get older yourself, you kind of want to make sure that that translates to your own kids. So we don't really have much sugar in our house, and it sounds a bit, I don't know how to say it. It just sounds a bit weird. Yeah, we're very mindful of that stuff here, just letting people know. And I think, yeah, as you're saying about, there being so many alternatives to that, I think that's just a common thing these days.
I don't think it's a bad thing either. Like they may, your kids might be
No.
annoyed now, but like, I mean, this just sounds so old person to me, but it's like, yeah, they don't understand it now, but when they're older, they'll know and they'll get it, which is true. I mean,
Show them
there's
the
truth
man.
to that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
Oh.
have kids yet, but like I want to. But I'm 36, and I definitely for a long time, like especially when I was younger, I was like, oh, I'm not gonna be one of those parents that's like super health conscious and everything. And then once I hit 30, it was like I noticed that I started like
Oh.
cutting out sugar and like eating like more, like I love broccoli now. Like I eat a ton of broccoli and stuff, and I
Yes.
was like, oh no, I'm gonna be one of them.
Well,
Yep, that happens.
part of it too is just like old person taste. Like I swear, like I think there's two things of it, at least like in the US, right? I think just nowadays people are learning how to cook a little bit better, especially seasoning their food. Like a lot of us grew up eating things that like probably were good for us, like broccoli, spinach, and stuff like that, but it was never prepared in the most like appetizing way for like a child to really like, it's not as salty.
Yeah.
It was probably steamed or just boiled vegetables, which is icky and stuff like that. But also too, like it is kind of almost a weird fact that I don't know if they've really pinned down, but it's just like, yeah, as we get older, just stuff starts to taste better. We just start maturing with that. Like some people hate green peppers growing up, but then like they hit a certain age and they're like, oh my god, this is the greatest thing in the world.
I think it's just more that your body's not used to that stuff as a kid, and I don't know, maybe you just have, it's a mental thing more when you're a kid. Like you tell yourself you hate it more than anything. Then as you get older, you realize that the benefits outweigh the taste factor, and so you learn you can actually make things nice by incorporating things into it, like soy sauces into vegetables. Like a little bit of soy sauce isn't bad, and that makes it taste better when you're making a stir fry or something like that. You learn that stuff. It's good for you, and you can make it taste nice. And I think as you get older, because longevity is key, and you start thinking about, oh, okay, I don't want to be sick for work. Maybe as you got older, you've got in a more important position at work, or something that demands that you're in your best condition a lot. So you start being more mindful of things like that. And so yeah, it's just that the health benefits outweigh that shitty taste or something like that. So kind of rewires your brain a little bit. I don't know.
No, I think it definitely does.
Yeah.
You mentioned something mental too, and I think definitely, like, I know growing up, cartoons would be like, they would show the thing of just like kids hating spinach or kids hating a certain thing. So you just kind of like see that from the TV, and you're like, oh, I'm a kid.
Yeah.
And just seeing that reaction, or your first initial, you have it a little bit, and then you just get that memory. It's like a horror game, or a horror movie or something like that. That one key moment that just makes you have that instinctual fear or something. And so when you have like a vegetable that tastes like shit, like I still hate tomatoes. It's one vegetable I've still not been able to become accustomed to. Yeah, I just can't. But I can do everything else now. But I can't do tomatoes because I just had a horrible experience with it, like them multiple times as a child. And so when I have it, I just can't get rid of that gross taste because I've had bad tomatoes. I know they are good ones, but my brain's not letting me believe otherwise.
What is it, like any tomatoes you just can't do, or like is it specifically like raw tomatoes or?
Oh no, cooked as well. It's cooked as well. Yeah.
Oh
When
wow.
I think about it, see, I don't, and that's the worst part because I like tomato sauce, and I don't mind it, and like pizza paste and whatnot, and I like everything where tomatoes is a key component of it, but tomatoes themselves, like whether it's cooked, grilled, or just fresh, I think the only ones I can eat are cherry tomatoes because they're so small I don't notice them.
Interesting.
You ever have like sun-dried tomatoes?
Oh crap! Yeah, sun-dried tomatoes. So, yeah, you're right. Recently I started having them. Yeah, and I love them.
Okay, so you're basically about the same taste as me with it.
Yeah.
I just don't like the consistency of it. Like, I hate biting a raw tomato.
Yes, that's a texture.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm a texture eater with everything, so that doesn't count.
Oh my god, texture is the craziest thing. I get so much flack for saying this. Where it's like, I prefer my cereal complete. I'll just eat it dry because I like the texture of like dry cereal. But like, I'll have a cup of milk on the side, and people will be like, "Well, why don't you just combine them together?" And I'm like, because it ruins the texture.
Oh, I took a screenshot of this very thing yesterday. On Twitter, someone goes, "How do you have your cereal? With cereal first and then milk on top, or milk first and cereal on top?" And like 1% or 2% of people chose milk first, and I'm like, "You're all weak." This I'm the same thing, dude. I like dry cereal. I don't like soggy fucking cereal. And if you do,
I'm the
that's
same
new.
actually.
Cereal first and then milk. Yeah, I think that's the most common. I would argue.
I actually like. I'll have milk next to me, and while I'm eating it, put a little bit of milk at a time.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, I won't like pour it in, cause then it could get soggy.
That's interesting. Chat, what's your
especially when
preference? Let us know.
Oh, we're gonna lose this war. I've seen enough on Twitter to know that I kind of follow my own path in life, and it's just not unusual. So yeah, I'm just organizing my Discord so I can see you actually playing the game.
Yeah, I forgot to start streaming it, but it's there if you wanna, if you'd like to follow along.
Yeah, I've had it open since you had it up. I really like the music. It's really chill.
It's wonderful.
So good.
It's wonderful. So one of the questions I also wanted to talk about. I love the tangent we went on with food. Actually, that was a wonderful tangent. One of the questions I prepared was, and this one actually came to me just like right before we started, based on a tweet that you had, Seph, about social batteries, saying that you just really don't have that large of a social battery anymore. So the question I want to pose to the group and to chat is how has your social battery just like changed over time? And do you think it's just because of the way you've grown, or because of external factors like the age of information and the world just going to absolute shit with the pandemic and stuff like that? And how do you keep your social battery from just being totally fried? There's a lot of questions in there, so feel free to answer whichever ones you want.
Take the first storm.
Oh, okay. I guess it's sort of, I don't know, I guess I'm sort of an ambivert, but leaning towards extrovert. So for me, like social batteries, I'm one of those, like, I lose energy if I'm not interacting with people.
Oh wow.
So, for me, the pandemic has been awful. Just because I'm not seeing like lots of different people. And I've started to like see some people here and there lately, but for the most part, I'm still like I'm not someone that's been like going to conventions again and like hanging out with lots of people or anything like that. So I guess from that angle I'm still sort of like struggling, but that's part of the reason that I really wanted to like chat here, and then even like just joining Cerulean Skies in general, because I like need that social outlet.
Right.
And I guess when I was a kid, I was more, not that I didn't like hang out with friends, but I think a lot of the times I was like at home, like playing a Final Fantasy game or something like that. And I like started to realize over time that that was like making me more tired or withdrawn, and then I felt more like upbeat and energetic if I was around other people. Um, so like incidentally, even though it seemed like you posed the question as like, I guess coming from Seph saying the opposite, I know I'm like kind of especially in like the gaming world, I'm kind of like an exception because I know that it tends to go the other way around.
It
But
does, and I'm really glad we have an
Yeah,
exception.
we
I'm
got
not gonna
one.
lie. That's
Yeah,
this whole.
I was thinking
I
the same
envision this
thing.
entire discussion just going in like that direction of like, yeah, most people on the internet are usually introverted, and then they want to be more extroverted. And here we are with our guest just being the complete opposite. That's wonderful.
yeah, I guess like once I realized that I was like extroverted, that's sort of what led into. I know I didn't really even talk about it here yet, but I have elsewhere. Um, that I liked working with like board games, making board games, card games, and stuff like that. Because I just really like the interaction that comes with like playing games with people face to face. And then even like video game tastes. You know, I played tons of JRPGs and stuff when I was a kid, and now I look back and I'm like intimidated by them because I just know how I'll feel. So I'm like, oh, I can't play that unless someone's with me. Um so like with video games even it's just that's been like I was having a hard time getting through games that I wanted to. And then I realized like I need someone sitting there with me while I'm playing it or I'll never get through it.
Okay, fair enough. I'm the complete opposite, by the way.
Yeah, Seb. Well, let's see. What's your social battery thingy?
I've always been introverted. Growing up, just a big old personal bubble. Don't like people around me, but seem to have a charismatic way, and so I draw people to me. And I really hate it growing up. Just like leave me alone. And always been a big reader. Was the weird kid that just carried a book with him no matter where he went. I was reading philosophy from a really early age and Harry Potter, reading fantasy books. And I'd just go off in the corner, sit down, read my book. And when people would bother me, I'd go and sit in the toilet if I could find it, or just a space around the school somewhere that I could just sit down and be by myself and read my book. And the amount of times my parents had to come and pick me up because I'd got so absorbed in my book that I'd forgotten to catch a bus or something like that. And so it was a purposeful isolation. I didn't like being near people. That's also a lot of like, personal issues, that's personal trauma and stuff like that led to that. But I think even despite that, I still would have been in a similar position growing up. So that kind of carried on to my teens. I was still like that, but you're finding out about girls, and so as girls, guys, just finding out just sexuality in general, and just you getting into that aspect of your life. And so I'm trying to form relationships with other people like of the opposite sex, and so that forced me out of my bubble a bit. And then as I got older, I met my partner Belinda quite young. I was 17, and even from there I've always been in like bands and stuff like that, and that playing live music in front of people, I'd still get that intense anxiety, because I'm just that Hulk thing, like that's my secret, I'm always angry. My thing is that's my secret, I'm always anxious. That's how I deal with my anxiety. And I think that was a big thing, is just I'm so consumed by anxiety, that's why I don't like being around people. And so whenever, even being in bands and stuff like that, I force myself into situations where I have to interact with people, and but then I would always end up so fried from an interaction. And this is from a young age. This is, I've been in bands since I was 14 years old. And so that kind of, when one thing led to another, and then luckily I got into a relationship early, and that allowed me to be isolated. And I've still maintained like a group of friends that I've had since I was a teenager, and I can count them on my hand how much I'm willing to give the time of the day, like for physical interactions. But they all know me that I'm a difficult person to like get a hold of because I just want to play video games. I just want to read my book, and they'll call me and they're like, "Oh, you finally answered your phone. You want to do something?" And I'm like, "No, I don't actually. I just want to read. Oh, my book just came out today. I just want to read that." And so that's how I've been literally for the last 30 years of my life, when I could, make my own mind up about that thing. And I don't think it's just video game mentality, like, a gamer mentality in general. It's just me. I'm just a social recluse. And on the other side of things, my partner, she's a ambivert. That's something I actually learned. Storm mentioned it before, and Joey actually mentioned it the other day. It's someone that likes their own space, but then they actually like to get out and about and recharge their batteries.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, that's just such a unique term for me. But I'm like, that explains my partner, because she likes to just play her video game all day. She'll play her Switch. She takes it to work. Everyone's like, "You're in your 30s and you're taking your Switch to work? Like, oh, that's so weird." And she's like, "I don't care. I want to play my Switch at work. I want to play Animal Crossing." And recently she's found that she wants to go out and socialize with friends. And so she's been organizing more. She's been talking a lot more on social media with friends and stuff like that, and trying to rekindle a little bit of that passion with with certain relationships she had for long periods of time, but they kind of waned. And so that's a whole different thing for me. But I'm the kind of person that's like, cool, you go do that, because we've kind of had a relationship where we like the same stuff, which is such a cool thing, because I see my friends are all married and all have long-term relationships where they have no similar interests. So it's such a really weird
that.
It's such a weird dynamic. Like, I couldn't fathom the idea of being with someone that hates gaming. Like, that's like, I've got a mate, like, we grew up, like, I've mentioned this before, but I'm this only console gamer in my friends group. Everyone else is PC gamers.
Uh-huh.
And we would get together on a big ass table like every weekend and set up all our computers together, and they would all have mad LAN parties playing World of Warcraft, and I'd be off on the TV by myself playing like a video game. But that's how we always did things. My partners, my friends, they love gaming. They're all big gamers. They put thousands of hours into their games, and now every single one of them are with partners that hate gaming. And I'm just like, what the fuck have you? And they're being told you're not allowed to play games past a certain amount, period of time, because you can't play games before 9 o'clock at night. So they can literally get like 1 hour of gaming in, because it's bad for the kids to see an adult playing games. I'm like, what the fuck is that?
What?
Like, are you serious? That's insane. Like, well, what kind of mentality is that? And I've gone off on a bloody tangent here, but it's
no, like, have you seen like when the pandemic was starting, there were like all of those memes and stuff where people were like, like, when people thought it was going to be months, it was like, oh, this is going to be so hard. I can't imagine spending months with my spouse, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
We're going to rip each other's heads off. Like, I never understood that, because
neither.
What's kind of crazy is that I'm like a mishmash, apparently, of you and your partner, because there were things that you said that I related to a lot, and then things that you said about her that I related to a lot.
Yeah.
But like, I also met my wife when I was a teenager, and we were just like best friends. And
That's
then
awesome.
yeah, and I like, not so much my friends, but definitely I've met a lot of people that have that kind of relationship where like one of them loves something and the other one's like, no, don't do that. And I'm like, why are you even together? I think that it like usually doesn't work out.
Yeah, that's
I can
never
understand.
made sense to me at all. That like, I mean, I think it's like kind of, I think it's, I at least like from what I've seen from my friends' relationships, like it's definitely almost good if you not like hate each other's interests, but like you kind of have your own, like, you know, wife does something, husband does something, or wife and wife does something, husband, they all do something, right? They have something they can do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's like when, yeah, like as you said, Storm, like when the pandemic started, people are just like, oh my god, how am I going to like survive being at home with this person for so long? And I'm like, isn't that why you married them? Isn't that why
Right.
like you did this whole thing of like, yeah, we're gonna live together from now on? Like, I get personal
Yeah,
space, but if you can't live with
to me,
them,
it's
then
to me like I had said that she was my best friend. Like when we were teenagers,
Right.
it's like we wanted to get married because we just were best friends and wanted to like always be around each other.
right.
So I never
it.
understand people that are like getting married out of like
Ah.
some feeling of obligation.
It was kind of like that
Yeah.
when with work too. Like people, I would hear people at my company or just in general on the internet with people on LinkedIn and stuff like that being like, yeah, like me, the whole work from home thing is torture because like I use that commute as kind of like my me time, or like the going into work is kind of like my recluse from like my wife and kids and stuff like that. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
that sounds horrible, that like that you have to use
Mhm.
your day job as a recluse for them. That just sounds like you don't have bad boundaries, or you just have, yeah, you just don't have the right boundaries.
Yeah.
Oh, it's funny that you mentioned that before, Storm, about like talking about relationships throughout the pandemic. So many of people I know and friends, act like close friends, got divorces throughout this COVID
Right.
period. I know it's not something to laugh at, but it's kind of one of those. It was one of those situations where you had to face the mirror and
Mm-hmm.
you know, you realize you didn't like what you saw. You didn't like waking up every morning to this person next to you because, oh shit, I have to be with this person another whole fucking day. And I'm like, man, if you don't wake up in the morning, like, oh, you know, I woke up this morning and I'm poking my missus in the face, trying to make it seem like she's going to wake up by herself so she can go get me coffee so I can keep watching Hiko in the morning. Like, you know, that stuff like that. But I know that she's gotten a lot of sleep. I would never do something like that if she's
No, I
you
got
know,
it.
a late shift or something. But yeah, you know, just that, you know, that playfulness first thing in the morning. If you're waking up and the first thing you think to yourself is, oh fuck, I got to take care of my kids. Ah, fuck, I got to spend time with this person. Like, man, just get out of it. Like, if you do not enjoy the company you keep, remove yourself from that situation, because your own mental well-being means more than forcing yourself to be with people that you don't enjoy being around. Then that's just plain and simple. And I think as I've gotten older, like my big saying is I'm too old to pretend I like being outside. Like,
Right.
it's a big thing, and I carry that mentality with the company I keep. I'm too old to pretend I like being around you, so I'm going to tell you I don't like you. And if from there you go, oh, Joe, you know, Seph said that he doesn't like me, you want to make it a bigger deal than it is. That's on you, not me. I'm sorry. And so it kind of translates here, like, you've got to enjoy the people that you're with in your life, especially as you progressively get older, and you've got to get yourself out of comfort zones. You've got to, you know, whether it's a boss or a co-worker or something like that you don't like being around too much but you can tolerate, but you've got to let them understand boundaries at the same time without coming across as an asshole.
Mhm.
And yeah, it applies to your everyday life, just with your family and stuff like that. Like, my kids are the same as me. They've grown up as not necessarily introverts, but they like being indoors. They like playing video games. And I was explaining to them that growing up, I always got kicked out of the house. Like, as soon as the sun came up, you get outside. Like, that was my life. And so I took my book or I took my Game Boy with me and I disappeared for 10 hours of the day, came back, and then that was it. But I'm not going to tell my kids to do that because they hate being outside. So it's
There's
just
a name
one
for
of
that
those
actually.
things. And
The thingy where like you stay invested in something because you've already put so much time into it. Oh god, I literally watched a video the other day like that mentioned it.
It's been in my head actually for the past like week, and Oh my god, something paradox.
Yeah. Oh god, there's actually a term for
No,
this.
sunken cost fallacy.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Explain it to me, sorry. Is it basically what I just said, or?
It
It's
basically
sort
is
of a
it,
sunken
yeah.
cost fallacy is like, it's when you're like, I gotta keep doing this because I put so much into it. So every time you try to stop, you think about
Oh, okay.
everything you've done that like is why you like you're making reasons for why you shouldn't stop rather than just stopping because you don't like it.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, no, fuck that. I don't like, even if I invested hundreds of hours into something, whether it be a relationship or money or something like that, if I can't do it anymore, I can't fucking do it. You know, sorry, another fucking tangent. That changed my mentality. It's fucking trophy hunting got me out of that mentality, actually. So I used to be one of those people that had to 100% every fucking game they touched.
Uh-huh.
And then I just realized one day, I think it was playing The Last of Us Part 2, and I beat it, and it was a phenomenal game. And then I had to replay it to get the platinum. And I replayed that game, and then just how much time I put into it, and I forced myself through it. And I realized, I fucking hate this. I hate this so much. I am losing so much time in my life, forcing myself to replay this wonderful experience that I'm now regretting. What a waste of time to make myself end up just hating something. And so ever since then, I've just changed my whole outlook on life, as in, if I don't want to do something, I just don't do it. And I tell my kids that now. I'm just like, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. And you can, as long as you have a reason.
Is it a case of...
Was that sorry, Golden?
I wonder if is it a case of just like as you got older and more mature, realizing that like time just genuinely is that limited, so you just grew like apathetic, or you just grew tired of wasting it? Or is it like actually because like, yeah, you just like trophy hunting was just like, nah, screw this sucks now?
Yeah, it really was. I'm just like, holy fuck. And because you've got a backlog, like, you know, at one point I had like 600 games like 2 years ago on the PlayStation 4 or some shit, and I was just like, what am I even doing? I played like 5 of these games. Why am I buying more? And so I stopped. I was just like, and so now I just tell my son, if there's a game you're interested in, you need to tell me. Otherwise, because I don't buy games anymore. So he'll just call me if he watches a video and goes, hey, Dad, can you buy me this game? But that's what I realized. I don't actually have time for this shit. And then that just became my mentality in general. Like, it just became, okay, I'm not going to do that. I really don't want to do that, so I'm not going to. And that's become my way of life now.
Interesting. I think I have to answer the question still for social batteries. So mine...
Sorry.
No, you're good. Trust me.
Yeah,
This whole thing for Coffee Talk is tangents. Like, it's perfectly all right. We speak what we're comfortable with, and we go on tangents and stuff like that. That is totally a-okay. But I think the audience would hound me with pitchforks if I didn't answer the question. So my social battery I feel like it changes. It has changed like every single like big life event. Like, I know in high school it was like pretty extroverted. Like I would go out with friends and stuff like that, like every weekend or every other weekend and still stuff like that. And then one bad relationship, I would say, or even bad, it was such a 50-50 relationship where like 40% of it was like genuinely good stuff, and then the other 60% was just drama and just a bunch of like crazy high school bullcrap that, looking back on it, it's just so petty. But like at the time, it really just like changed. It changed you and stuff like that. I mean, like that, I attribute my introversion sometimes to that relationship, because like after I broke up with this person at the end of high school, it basically ended with her saying that, like, yeah, for a lot of the time of this relationship, I just acted the way that would make you happy and not who like my true self was and stuff like that, which is a horrible thing to say to a person just in general, because it really...
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
I then had like 3 months of like summer vacation before I went off to university. So like I was like just done with high school and just moving into university and stuff like. So I had like 3 months of summer at a job to kind of like really just like ponder and think about this. And it really just forced me to become more introverted because I started thinking, I was like, was it like, so what happened with me is I basically came to the conclusion that like, yeah, clearly what I was doing and like the way I was extroverted, the way I would try to just be kind to people and just be like with people and try to hit all bases and just know a lot of things and be able to hold a conversation with stuff just wasn't working. And so that's where one of, I would say like the first locks I would say like on me came in, where I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna pull back from stuff like that. So then the first 2 years of university were like fairly introverted. I thankfully started finding friends who are still part of like my main group now and stuff like that, but I literally did not do a whole lot in terms of like actually hanging out with people and stuff like that. Junior year comes along and I met one of my friends who I think we've seen a couple of times here, Guavs. Dude comes into our life, and then like him, myself, and Liquid, like when we formed our trio, like that's where I felt like my social battery like kicked back into high gear again. I'm like, yeah, extroversion, woohoo, let's go, doing stuff and whatnot. And then I graduated, moved to a completely different state, and I joined the corporate 9-to-5 world. Then, but boom, my social battery is back down to just like, I want to stay home, but I feel like if I stay home for too long, I start like craving going out and stuff like that. And then I do. I'll go out to town, or I'll like hang out with people, or actually I'll do stuff like outside in the real world, as scary as it is. And but then I come home and I'm just so fried that I need like another day and a half to recover, just socially and mentally from that. And it's unfortunate that, because like it even happens now like with my family too. Like we'll go, like today we went shopping and stuff like that, and thankfully I am in a more of a, my social battery was pretty good because I got to sleep in this morning. But there are just sometimes like I'll go to like family events or just hang out with family, and then by the end of the night I'm just like, I want to not talk to anybody for the next 48 hours. I want to just be in a cocoon and leave me alone, please, so I can just recharge and stuff like that. And yeah, it's just crazy that like just like life events and stuff like that can really change your social battery and whatnot.
For sure. Funny, yes. You're saying a lot of stuff there that I like it. Just again, like how Storm said she could relate to experiences that I had, and it was the same thing for me. It's just periods in your life, they do really evolve you. And not evolve you in a physical sense, more like a mental sense. Like you're just like, I can't do this anymore. And especially having certain relationships. I've had pretty stable relationships most of my life, post-teen, I'd say. So I haven't necessarily had that mental evolution. There's just been really big events that have just drastically changed my mentality, more than just one significant one or a couple throughout. It was just really one big event in my early 20s that just made me have a whole like that big bang moment where I was just like, I've got to change. I've got to expand my horizons, my mentality, everything about myself. Otherwise, things aren't going to change. But yeah, I think what Stu said about what you're touching on there about people being fake is a big fear. I think that fear manifests in so many people.
It does.
Like,
yeah, it does.
It's just just that idea that like I get concerned because I don't socialize much. I fear that because when my person, like I think I've said it before, is that if I find someone, like I'm the type of person that will not come within 5 meters of another person if I can do that. Like if I can be in a social situation where I can distance myself. I think yesterday, for example, I was out at a party and I dipped off to the side to watch Yahiko stream. Like I'm surrounded by hundreds, if not thousands of people, and I went and found a corner just so I could have a couple of drinks and watch a stream. Like that's me. And because of that, when I do get around people, I think that if my true self comes out, I used to get a bit concerned that they'll think to themselves, this guy's a weirdo. And now I don't care. it's just like, it is what it is. If you don't like me, so be it.
Oh, that's a great
Comfortable.
segue
I
into one of
mean,
the other things I had.
Part of me thinks that's just about parties, though. Like, I, even though I get like recharged from social interaction, I kind of do the same thing. And I'll try to like go talk to someone and then like retreat back and hope that they follow. But yeah, I think that's just like the awkwardness of being at a place where there's lots of people who aren't necessarily interested in whatever you want to do or are into or whatever. Because I guess the question is with like introversion or extroversion, if you went to the party and you went and sat by yourself to watch Yahiko stream, if everyone else was like, oh, what are you watching? And then sat around and were like, oh, let's put on the TV and stuff like that, would you be like, oh, that's cool, everyone's into the same thing as me? Or would you be like, please go away?
Actually, funnily enough, the main attraction of the party, he came over and he's like, "Oh yeah, what are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm just watching a mate stream." And he's like, "Oh," because he's 40, and I know he's a bit of a gamer himself, and he just goes, "Oh, what's his Twitch?" And then I sat there and started explaining to him about Cerulean Skies, how we're like a group of like-minded individuals that like talking and like playing video games or reading books or music and everything. And he's just like, "This is really cool." So he went onto his Twitch and added our stream, and he's like sitting there watching Yahiko for a little bit with me, and then we just carried on our way. So it was really cool, actually. I forgot to mention that yesterday.
So see, that's sort of like
Okay.
you had like a social interaction that was positive, even though you thought about it as I'm being like socially distant. But you still had
Yeah.
positive social interaction at the party.
Yeah, and it's about approaching it with a different. I think, yeah, I know that's what you're getting at is spot on. It's about how you approach it, like the mentality that you approach it with. Are you going to be a recluse? Are you going to, just be a distant, or are you going to be expressive? And I think that's a big thing that I've done in my older years is be a bit more expressive about my passion and be open about them, like not giving a shit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's actually a great segue into the other question that I had, which is, I think it's generally known that many people have an online persona and they have an offline persona. And so what I want to know from chat and from the group is how different are your two personas, and how do you try to keep them? I mean, we've kind of already touched this a little bit, but do you try to keep them separated, or do you let one leak into the other every now and then? I think I'll start, and then we'll go to Storm, and then we'll go to Seph for this round. It's interesting. I think they're not too far off from each other, my online and offline personality. I think I'm definitely a lot more like quieter, mainly just because I personally enjoy hearing people and like listening to people and just kind of like hopping in, either as like a jokester or just kind of like with comments or insightful comments and questions and stuff like that. I mean, my normal day to day is just like, desk job golden. Yes, desk job golden developer. Yes, I'll go do that thing, or like explaining things during meetings and stuff like that. And so it's very much just drone, boring, somewhat stuff. And then of course with like friends and stuff like that, I get a bit more goofy and everything. Versus online, I definitely think that my online personality is the one where it's like things that I definitely could never do in real life get to come out, like things I want to say, like with voice acting and stuff like that. Like I can do different voices, I can make different jokes, and I can say things in different ways that I definitely could not say at a desk, because that would be kind of weird and stuff like that. I think it just like with online, I can just like turn that part of the brain off of seriousness and just be like, you know what, let's let things happen as they happen and stuff like that. They definitely tend to leak every now and then. Like with friends, it's like whatever, I can just kind of stay whatever and stuff like that. But every now and then at work too, like that sassiness, it's one of my, I think, hidden things that I try hard not to bring out, because sometimes I feel like there's like personal like worries of just like, yeah, maybe my sass might actually offend somebody, or it might just go too far. So that's just kind of a hidden thing that I try really hard to keep away. But it's just like, I'm just kind of a naturally sassy person in that regard. That one definitely sometimes leaks out into the real world, and I'm just like, every time it happens, I'm just like, oh god, Golden, shut up, no, stop, don't be sassy to people, just leave that for the microphones and stuff like that, leave that for the online community.
I know that. What about yourself, Storm?
I don't know. I'm still thinking about it.
Oh, okay.
All right, so
I think I've said this like either yesterday or the day before. The only social things I've really done is Twitter. For like, I think I joined that in 19, holy shit, 2018, after I got back from a month-long trip in Japan, and I just wanted to share images of like the Studio Ghibli museum and stuff like that. And then I found out that Twitter's not the site that you do that with, it's Instagram. And then I was just like, oh, there's heaps of cool gaming stuff on Twitter, so I'll stick with it. And before that, I've never done anything where I've had to adopt a persona or online or anything like that. So what you get is what you see, really, with me. I get picked up pretty quickly as being blunt and just, I think I was in a stream with Hiko. Oh no, we're just in chat the other day, and I think it was Hiko or Shu that said that Joey. Oh no, it was Joey. It was Joey that said that Seph either he likes something or he really, really hates it, because I don't just say, oh, it's all right. I say, nah, it's fucking shit. And I don't have a middle ground with anything. I tend to say things bluntly and then spend the rest of my time trying to justify why I don't like it. But that's kind of just how I've always been, just real life, online, and I don't think it's really something I can change. I hadn't used a computer in 7 years prior to joining Discord, like with Cerulean Skies. It never had a reason to use it on. I just did everything on my mobile phone, and if I can do it on my mobile phone, I'd rather do it that way. But yeah, even like with Twitter, once I started like getting a lot of followers and stuff like that on my old account, I couldn't handle it, and I actually quit it, and then I stopped using it for a whole year. And then because there was too much people trying to talk to me at the same time, I'm like, nah, I can't handle this. And so I got rid of it. And when I came back, it kind of came back subtly. So, and only spoke to the people that I actually enjoyed talking to on Twitter. And so that kind of, like I said, you're talking about how your online and your real life personality kind of leak into one another. It's the same for me. My real life bleeds too much into my online stuff, and I think it just manifests itself as is, so to speak. But yeah, that's a boring answer from me, really. Nothing's fucking changed. That's my answer.
So, like, I guess the question's really loaded for me, for like a number of reasons. And I think the first major one in terms of currently is because I work at Square Enix, I sort of have to be a certain way on social media. So I guess on like Twitter and stuff like that, I'm super mindful of like what I say, because I'm also like representative of the company. Because I've had plenty of times where people like screenshot or whatever and will be like, oh my god, I can't believe she said that, and like, and treat that as like a negative thing with work. But aside from that, I guess Did the music stop?
No, I'm just typing.
Gotcha.
This game,
It's like, what
is this
happened?
annoying thing where once you click off of it, it like pauses, and there's no option to like have it
Pauses,
keep
yeah.
going
I
when
was
you
like,
click on. Yeah,
I was like, did the music stop because of like drama?
your answer got very serious, so I just had to give you the spotlight.
But then like, I guess like aside from that, because I'm trans, I've like had to adopt personas in the past to like, stay hidden, I guess, before I had come out.
Right.
Oh, wow.
So I've had practice with like on social media pretending to be a guy and like stuff like that. So I would say lately, aside from the like, I have to always remember to have the work filter on. It's more like I don't really want that like pretending to be someone. So I pretty much just type whatever I would say in real life, like on social media or like chatting here or whatever. Anytime that I'm talking to anyone on Discord or Twitter or Facebook or Twitch or whatever, YouTube, I'm pretty much always trying to be like genuine.
Right,
right. The funny thing is, because I had so much practice with like lying, I guess in a way, I'm really good at social interaction games where like someone has to lie. Like I don't know if you ever played like Werewolf or whatever, but like I got so good
Yes.
at like at just like when I would play those kinds of games with friends, they would be like, oh yeah, like Among Us. Whenever I play games with friends, they start to like realize that I'm like one step ahead of them in my head because I've like developed those skills of like always being paranoid about what my persona is. So so like there were times where like friends would be like, we're just gonna believe the opposite of whatever she's saying. So then in my head I'm like, okay, now I'm always gonna say the opposite of whatever the truth is. And then like, or I'll say like, I'll like just tell the truth. You know what I mean? Like,
you're like
and just
you're like
manipulate people that way.
You're like the puzzle that always confuses people. There's two beings. One is always telling the truth, and one is always lying. Which one's the liar type situation?
Yeah. So, a lot of times with like Among Us or like games like that, people, if they have the ability to like kill me, they'll just do it because it's too difficult to deal with me.
You do realize you have placed a target on yourself now for when we have Cerulean Skies Among Us sessions. Like when that happens and you're there, Storm, it's just gonna be like, all right, so we had
the crazy thing is, I've told people that in the past that like
it still doesn't work.
The fact that like, you know, just saying like the fact that I was pretending to be a guy for a long time and then it like made me develop those skills. I'll tell people that and they're like, oh sure. And even some friends that have played those games with me are like, no, she's telling the truth. And then they're like, don't like, you know, don't fuck with her. Like and then they'll play me in one of those games and like try and win, you know, like they'll like Among Us will like keep me alive to see if I'm able to trick them or if I'm able to trick anyone, that kind of stuff. And like an example is like I used to play Among Us like last year, kind of like weekly, and I would always, no matter what, follow people and stand outside a doorway and just always do that. And like, and they would be like, oh, so she's the killer because, oh my god, I love it. Seph is bringing out all the social interaction, social manipulation games. Oh my god. Yeah, I love Werewolf. Yeah. That's my favorite. One Night Werewolf is like one of my favorites. But Among Us, like I'd always stand outside doorways and people would be like, oh, she's the killer, she was following me. But I do it every game, whether I'm the killer or not. So they'll be like, well, why was she following me if she wasn't the killer? And it's like, well, I do that every game because I'm building my, like, what you believe are my tells.
Right.
Yeah. No,
So, like,
I do the exact same thing.
so, like, that's kind of what I used to do on social media, is, like, I would build things that, to make people believe those are tells of me as a person, where it's like, I'm going to keep this up so that no one assumes any differently.
Yeah.
So I would say, like, you know, a decade ago, yeah, I did that kind of stuff and there was a difference. But like lately, now it's just one-to-one. Like, I don't really do anything on social media that's like different from real life.
You mentioned that
Yeah,
because you work at Square, you kind of have to almost be mindful of what you do and stuff like that. Do you ever wish you didn't have to do that? Like you almost didn't have. It's not. I don't want to say it's like a restriction, but do you almost wish like that wasn't a thing?
Absolutely, but I can't say why.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm totally sure, but
yeah, there's like definitely reasons where I wish I wasn't restricted in that way, but that's just the way things work.
I'm sorry, I could not stop laughing when you're saying you play a certain type where you adopt a persona whenever you play social deception games where you make things super obvious and you have a routine that makes people question more than if you were to play the game a bit more intensely. You just stick with a trope, so to speak. And I do that with Avalon. For those that can't see, it's the game Avalon. Whenever I'm like a character like Merlin or something, I make it super obvious that I'm Merlin, so then they start thinking to themselves, is this motherfucker Merlin? Like I do that exact same thing with every game I play, and I win a lot because of it.
One thing that was a strategy for me pretty often in One Night Werewolf was like, when everyone wakes up, I'd be like, okay, so I was the seer and I saw that this person is this and this person is this.
Yeah.
And like I would do that consistently to just get people talking, and they would start giving away information like, oh, she's a werewolf because I'm the seer and I saw this and this. And it's like, okay, well, I'm not the seer. Actually, I was the troublemaker and I switched you and you.
Yeah.
And I just go through all the roles where I'm like, I was actually this one, you got me. And just go through every single thing to like just get people talking while I'm figuring it out. And I just keep switching my like persona, yeah.
Oh, I love that because I do the same. And what I do, my favorite thing to do is when I know who's, like when you get a role where you know who certain individuals are, I actually say it. I point it out. I'm like, that motherfucker right there is that. That person's there. And they're sitting there going, you motherfucker, how dare you? And they get real, but they can't give it away. They're not allowed to give it away. So they sit there and they get really, and you can see they're just so angry with you, and I love it.
I love even the opposite of that is sometimes like people start to catch on, right? So people like pick up my strategies and they'll start trying to adapt one of them. So then, you know, everyone wakes up and someone will be like, I'm the seer and I saw blah and blah. And like I'm actually the seer and I just let them run with it. And like I'll wait until like a minute left and I'm like, okay, so they were like bullshit. I'm actually the seer. This person and this person was this. I'm assuming this. And the funny thing is because like people have faith in me about the game, like games like that when I'm good, like when I'm on the good team, that they'll be like, okay, I believe her. She's telling the truth. Kill the other one. Like, but then I'll use that in my favor where it's like, I'll do that and wait until the end and say a bunch of shit. And they're like, okay, I trust her. Let's kill this person who like actually was the seer. Like,
yeah. But why? Because fuck you, that's why. I'm gonna win.
Have you ever played Secret Hitler?
What?
No, I haven't. But I was actually told about that. I think it was Cerulean. It might have even been yourself, but someone told me about that recently. I'm like, I need to play that game.
Oh,
What's this one about?
It's really crazy. It's a similar kind of game, but there's people that are fascists and people that are liberals, and there's one person that's Hitler. And so the fascists know who Hitler is. The liberals don't know anything. And Hitler doesn't know who the other fascists are. And so the goal of the game is to get liberal or fascist policies passed. And there's like a whole voting system. And so like you get to see who, like the group chooses who's voting on a certain policy. And then depending on the outcome, you start to like gain information of like, okay, someone in that group was probably a fascist because a fascist policy passed. And
Yeah.
and you start like manipulating things because sometimes you have no option. Like the way that the voting system works, sometimes a fascist policy just has to go through because that's the way the cards are dealt out. So people start like getting not trusting each other and stuff. And then basically if your like government starts to become too fascist, then it introduces a gun and you can use the gun to eliminate people each time something's going to get voted on. And so the liberals will automatically win if they use it on Hitler. So Hitler has to like not be suspicious, but they're also on the bad guy team.
That is a very gutsy game in today's worldly political climate. I am just like I'm hearing this and I'm like, this is a modern video game. I'm surprised this exists and not something that came out like 10, 15 years ago or something like that. That sounds super fun. Not gonna lie.
It came out in 2016.
Yeah, see, even then, I just...
And I think it was the people that published it were the same people as what's that card game where you like fill in blanks?
Fill in blanks.
Do you know what I'm talking about? You get like a random sentence, and then people will fill it in with their...
Cards Against Humanity.
Yeah, the same people published that. So I mean, they're gutsy enough to publish whatever.
Oh yeah, they're all for it then.
Yeah.
Right up the alley. No, I was when I was typing it in Google to buy it, I made sure to type in Secret Hitler board game. Just like, I think a better Cards Against Humanity. Yeah, I better specify this here. I don't want fucking getting the government on me or anything.
One of them that I was talking about the other day, I think during the stream, was Two Rooms and a Boom. So maybe that's one you were thinking of. That one's so good. That one you play with 20 people.
Yeah, I forgot about that when you started talking about board games. That's like the only time where I really would get out and about is with board game events. So my partner and I, for a few years, we used to get invited to these board game events where we would play board games for charity. And it wasn't just board games; it was video games and board games. And I explained it in text, but basically the objective of the thing was we chose a charity to donate to, and we had a big board and stuff like that. And so you'd set, so if you played something like Avalon with 8 people, say, the people that lost, they had to donate $1 to the jar. And that's, you steadily build up funds, or, I'll challenge you to Mortal Kombat. If you lose, you have to throw $5 in the jar. And so that's what we used to do. And there would be like 80 people there. And I think that's the only time where I'd be around a large group of people and be comfortable. Sorry, I remember that. That is a time where I did like being around a large group of people.
No, I get that because like that's like when I'm most comfortable is like playing board games or card games or whatever with people, and especially like social interaction type games. That's like my favorite. I just love that kind of stuff. And one of the things that I was doing with Square before the pandemic was like putting together events for playing games together. Particularly like the Final Fantasy trading card game was like a big thing that I was like flying all over for and organizing events and running events, and then it just stopped. And so like that's something that I really miss and want to get back into. But yeah, I similarly like did board game nights like weekly, and that's been like a big thing that's been lacking. And there's like Tabletop Simulator, and I've done it like a bunch during the pandemic, but like it's not quite the same.
It's not. No, it's being that like we tried to hold D&D sessions online since I moved, and also just because of pandemic stuff, and it's a very noticeable shift. Like, you know, actually being there and rolling physical dice and, you know, playing actual cards like Uno, Cards Against Humanity. We like playing other, like some of the games that me and my friends like to play. We like play Banned Words or like What Do You Meme and stuff like that. You just really can't do them that well over call. It's nice that we can. It'd be even worse if we didn't have Discord and, you know, back in old phone calls, be like, yeah, what card was that? Yeah, it's a 3 of spades. Yeah, sure, no problem. But no, I'm with you. It's definitely not the same as actually being in person.
Yeah, I also kind of just miss out on like doing like big events with that stuff, or even just like weekly board game nights, like on meeting people, because that was like a big way that I met people. Was just, hey, do you want to play this game? Or like if I was running an event, just like people would come talk to me. And so I've met like hundreds of people that are just like, I mean, a lot of acquaintances, but even some people that are like consistent friends that like, just through those kinds of events and interactions and stuff. And even like people who I had no idea who they are, and then they ended up being like famous. I don't know if you know Cassandra Lee Morris, the voice actress. She's in like Persona, and she came to one of our board game nights. And she was like, oh yeah, I'm a voice actress. I'm in this anime Sword Art Online. And I was like, oh, I never heard of it. Which at the time I hadn't. And I guess to her it was like, oh cool, they don't know who I am. So that's like a good space. And we just played a bunch of like, we played this game Snake Oil a bunch, I remember.
Snake Oil, yeah.
Where you have to like, you get something that you have to sell, and you get an item and everyone has to pitch it to you.
Yeah.
And then that was like even funny afterwards, being like, oh shit, she's in all this stuff that like I recognize. Or like when I was running a Square Enix event in New York, there was this guy that came to play. There's this card game, Chocobo's Crystal Hunt, that we do. That's like it's like a Final Fantasy themed like old maid kind of thing. And this guy came over to play and was like, oh, do you want to play with me? And I was like, oh, sure. And then like a bunch of other people filled up the game really quick, and I was like, oh, like who is this? And like people were like, oh, it's Golden Boy. And then I was like, oh, is he someone? And then like I just, we had a ton of fun, and then afterwards I was like, oh, it was really cool like meeting you. Do you want to like exchange Twitter or whatever? And we followed each other. And then like a week later he was like, yeah, so I'm hosting this NBC show with The Rock. And I'm like, whoa. Shit.
Whoa.
So like even just stuff like that, where like board games make like, and card games make this like place where like to me, like no one has to know each other, like none of that matters, and it's like almost like an escape for a lot of people, where it's like almost like kind of the starting question with social media, like almost like you can be like a totally different person when you're playing it. You don't know, nothing's like expected of you, and so you just meet lots of people that like you might not normally never meet.
It's apparently one of the best networking events possible right now, I guess. Forget LinkedIn, just go straight up play board games and interact with people, I guess. You'll find your way to The Rock, I guess.
Yeah.
It's probably because... Oh, sorry, go for it.
I was just saying, vicariously, now Storm's met The Rock.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, apparently. I think yeah, board games themselves are just so nice because you don't have to focus on the person. You just need to focus on, well, you don't need to. It's not like just. You focus on the game, and then as the ice gets broken, you can start to talk to people and stuff like that. It reminds me of like in the first year of university and stuff like that. Like everybody would play Cards Against Humanity, and that would truly be like the place where like you find out like, ooh, can I be friends with this person based on like how funny they were when they played like when they played like a funny card or something like that. Or how terrified you would be.
That's like one of the reasons that I really liked designing card games and board games and wanted to get into that, was just like having interactions like that where it's like someone who may never, like even people that are just like people that are introverted and they may never like make friends normally because they're too like afraid to like get out there, will like join to like play a board game or a card game they might be interested in, and suddenly it's like, oh, they're a really cool person, and that sort of like gives them the push to go like meet people.
Yeah.
So fucking true. It's funny with board games, because I think I was telling Storm during her stream that I have a fucking huge board game collection, and it was so bad to the point like when we bought this house like 6 years ago. At the time, we were the only house on our street because there's a new like area, and this is 7 years ago now, and we didn't have anyone, and this, you'd need furniture and all that stuff. But the first thing I made for the house was a board game table. And I made it so that it had raised sides so that you could play your game, and then if you didn't want to play it anymore, you could put a top on it so you could leave it in place and not have to stress about things being moved, because we would play big ass games. And yeah,
that's like a whole industry now. Those go for thousands of dollars.
Yeah, I just made it myself because then when I was done with it, I threw the table out. Yeah, like even like that bookshelf right here. I'll just explain it, but that took me like half an hour to make because I just wanted to make my all my light novels and manga and stuff look nice. And
it does look nice.
Yeah, so I have a tendency to just so whenever I like something, I have to make something for it. And I just remembered when we first moved into the house, the first thing I made was a board game table.
Thank you for the follow, Kitsune Greenleaf.
Thank you. But yeah, that's why whenever you're doing a stream next where I could catch your Storm, I wanted to chat with you about board games because I get a little bit obsessive when it comes to those.
I think it'd be great to even have like a board game showcase and stuff like that between you two, because it seems like you guys just have that whole thing locked down. Also, Solstice, thank you for the raid.
Thanks,
appreciate it.
Is there card games that you could play online where lag or because my shitty Australian internet connection, you'll all be in the future. But is there a board game we could play like on Cerulean Skies live? That'd be awesome.
Do you have Tabletop Simulator?
No, never heard it. Like,
it's on Steam.
This is all awesome. I'll get it now. After the chat, but
it's a program where you can mod in like any board game. Like you have to like make it, like put it in, but there's like you can find people that have put them together, and then you can like download it off Steam, if it exists. So that's like a good way to play board games over the internet. It doesn't perfectly match it, but it is like a way of just doing it.
Jackbox we did do on debut, and that is something we definitely want to bring back. I think Jackbox sessions, I
love Jackbox also.
It will get better as the community grows, because we'll learn each other and we'll become more comfortable with giving our true comedy out to each other. Although we did the drawing thing in Jackbox, and we just went heck to the wall with all the not safe for work stuff.
I played Scribble with Yahiko the other day, and that was fantastic. Even though just a simple premise is just Pictionary online, and I had a blast, even though I got smoked. So, that wasn't fun, but it's still it was really cool.
I really like Trivia Murder Party
Oh, it's so
and
good.
and Gaspionage. Those are
I've
like
not
my
played
two
that
favorite Jackbox ones.
Yeah, I have not played Gaspionage yet.
It's like Family Feud, but everyone's giving their answer at the same time.
Oh, heck
That's
yeah.
awesome.
So they polled a certain amount of people, and then they'll like ask a question, and you pick what you think is like the most people would have said, and then whoever's closest, like with their guess, you'll get more points. And you have to actually guess the percentage. So it's like how many percentage of people,
Oh.
stay up past 10. Like just a random question. And it'll be like,
Oh wow!
you know, I think like 71%, and then someone else will be like 70%. Like, and so whoever's closest gets the most points.
Oh, yeah,
I have a story
love
about
that.
Family Feud, actually. So,
Oh, really?
back in
cool.
high school, I went to a competition called Skills USA, which was just like a competition where it was like statewide. It had a national thing too, but it was state first. And it was like, I went for the electronic stuff, but there was like programming, there was like woodworking, welding, stuff like that. They even had stuff for like house building and suitcase packing, interestingly enough too, but they had stuff for like jewelry, and it was just a whole competition for like just general trade skills and stuff like that. And after on the night after the competition, so the night before we were going to go and leave the next day, one of my roommates at the time had brought an Ouya, which, if you don't know what an Ouya is a failed game console, which is basically a glorified emulator that you could take with you portable and stuff like that.
It's a towerful machine, right?
Is it?
Wasn't
Maybe.
Towerfall, that's what
Machine.
it debuted on?
Yeah, actually, I think it was. And
It's
so,
a good game. What the fuck?
yeah, unfortunately, that will be a thing to maybe talk about one day. Is the Ouya, and it's a potential but complete failure. It was like Stadia before Stadia was even a concept. And so he had on there Mario Kart 64, and he also had Family Feud from the Nintendo Entertainment System. And one of the questions we got was, name a snack that goes well with tea. And there were like 8 answers on the board and stuff like that. And we guessed the normal ones like biscuits, cookies, and stuff like that. But we could not get the 8th one, which is really tricky in Family Feud because that's like a super low percentage chance of like getting that, that sort of thing. And we striked out. Like, we couldn't do it. It's also like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning at this, so we're just like drained from the competition. We're super tired, and we're just barely avoiding getting called for noise complaints in this hotel. And we strike out, and the answer to the question, which was name a snack that goes well with tea, was chow mein. And we just like lose our shit. We lose our collective shit. We're like, chow mein? Who the flying fuck eats chow mein with tea? Like, what?
Oh, wait, but
And this
no,
was,
that's
like,
actually probably a lot of people. But it's the other way around. It's not like I thought about eating this while I'm drinking tea. It was like, oh, this is something that I would have tea with.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
we figured it was probably just because, like, oh yeah,
Fair
NES is Japanese developers, something like that, or whatnot. But it just was like the craziest thing to hear because it was so far off and different from the other 7 answers, which were your common answers.
That actually reminded me. Have you ever watched Always Sunny?
Yeah.
Have you seen the Family Feud episode?
Yes.
There's like a whole bit in it where Charlie keeps knowing the bottom answer. And one of the questions was like, I think it was like, what's an uncommon meat that people eat? And he said like dragon. And they were like, what? No, dragon's not even real. And then it showed up on the board. And he's like, yeah, I was one of the people that answered the survey.
What?
I need to watch this.
Oh, I forgot that. I forgot he said that. Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, that's just
I feel
your
like an
story
old
about chow
man.
mein just reminded me of it.
That was just crazy. Family Feud is just as a whole super entertaining and just super crazy.
Hmm. Yeah, I think you'd probably like espionage then. Like we should play that sometime.
I will be. I usually host whenever we do like Family Feud. I am usually the host for it.
Hmm.
'Cause I like being the host and doing all the questions and stuff like that. So yeah, it'll be interesting to play it with a massive group dynamic. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
You know, Seph, we talked about this in the beginning of this, how you're kind of like a social recluse and stuff like that. So hearing you say that you're usually the host of these things is very unique to hear.
Well, he did say earlier
And
that like he pushes himself, right?
Yeah,
That was one of the things
definitely.
you mentioned.
But it's like it's funny how like at the beginning of this we started like that. Now near the end of this where it's like I host Family Food. It's just exciting for me to see and hear.
Yeah.
oh, dude, it's one of those things because. So, as I said, I don't do what I don't want to do, but when I do want to do something, I go in like 110%. Just my full 290 pounds, just straight at it. It's just one of those big things. I love not necessarily hosting events in general, but when it comes to like when I'm playing a board game or something like that. Oh no, I can speak coherently, and I can lead with a bit of energy and finesse. So I tend to get pushed into those roles, and if I'm going to be pushed into something, I'm not going to sit there and be an asshole and go, "No, you can't make me do it." So I just end up doing it.
Hey, you learn something in the process, you know?
You're controlling the situation.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's how I like to think of it. It's just I'm making this situation my bitch.
Alrighty. Well, we are nearing on time today, so I'll just finish this dude's drink.
Ginger is a good snack to have with tea, apparently.
Dude just really wants a ginger green tea,
What?
apparently. Alrighty.
I do not drink teas at all.
They're good. They are good.
Like, unless it's a boba tea, then I drink the fuck out of those.
Dude, yes. Boba's great. I had boba today, actually.
Oh, dude, I was so upset when I found out how much sugar is in a caramel, or what are they? Not caramel, brown sugar milk tea.
Mm-hmm.
I was so upset. I'm like, oh, it's fucking obvious. I mean, it's brown sugar milk tea, but I was just like so upset when I read it up. Like, they do those little ingredients and stuff like that, and I was just. I'm like, I can have like one of these a month if I'm lucky. Otherwise, I actually feel my teeth like disintegrating if I drink more than one a month.
Yeah.
That's the worst.
It's depressing, man. I have this like I hadn't had a chocolate in a couple of weeks now, and I had one today, and I'm like, oh my goodness, why do I deprive myself of this goodness?
There is sugar-free chocolate. That is the thing.
I know, but it tastes bad. Like, that is one of the few things where like the sugar-freeness is obvious.
Oh, have you ever had monk fruit? I know we're like circling back to the first thing. How does it taste to you? Like garbage?
A little bit bitter, but not absolutely. I only started having that like.
So monk fruit to some people tastes like sugar.
Yeah.
So that's why it's like an ingredient in that stuff. So to me, like when I eat stuff with monk fruit in it, it tastes like almost identical to sugar. So I get like chocolate with monk fruit in it.
Yeah, dark chocolate.
They're using monk fruit now as sweeteners and stuff like that and things, which is pretty good because monk fruit is natural and everything. So.
Yeah, I've noticed that actually. Like, that's like a recent wave or a recent trend, isn't it? To start adding monk fruit into everything.
Yeah, only a few years.
Yeah, so like I said, adopting that healthy lifestyle, you start noticing these things.
Alrighty.
We
Well,
ended where we started.
the magic of coffee talk. We
Full
come back
circle.
full circle every single time. And that is going to close our shift here on Coffee Talk. So I hope everyone had a wonderful time on this session. And we'll be back next time. Brand new guests, brand new topics, but still same old coffee. That is it for Cerulean Skies for a while by Yahiko. I think, I believe Jack is probably going to be streaming something here in a few hours or so. But also Yahiko will be streaming Sekiro over on his channel. I think this is his command. There we go. I'm learning.
Oh.
I'm learning these commands. But yes, so go check Yahiko out in the next hour or so for some Sekiro. Catch us back here in a couple of hours here for Jack. I don't know what he's going to be streaming just yet, but he'll probably be here. And yeah, just catch Cerulean Skies in general. So as always, thanks everybody, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace!